what is that line, the storied line, the thin line between love and hate, when you're dealing with a creature at one point who does not care about you as anything other than a way of receiving food. And as the kids get older, of course, that changes. But that moment of confrontation in the middle of the night when you're staring down at this child who won't just be quiet, there's a horrifying number of thoughts that can go through your head at that time. My most recent book is Patter, and it's Red Hen Press, who also published my first book. And Patter is really engaged with this question of fertility, infertility, and once you are able to have children, what are the different sort of anxieties and terrors that attend that? I think the jacket copy says something like, for a couple struggling with infertility, they're essentially at war with their own bodies. And when you've gone through that, what happens when you finally win the war, and now you have these other bodies who are hungry and demanding? Yeah, two. Yeah. I have twins, so I have these twins who are, not really interested in the fact that I don't feel like doing anything right now. And at the same time, right, you have all of the anxieties that come with any parent raising kids, education, safety, and health. And then in the middle of that, you're looking at your son, and Trayvon Martin, is shot. And countless other people. You're looking at your daughter, and you're finding about the kinds of abuses that take place, and so you begin to ask the question, well, why did I do this, and am I even fit to do this? And so the book really takes me through this kind of looking at who are the models of fathers. There are poems, a series of the poems are called Father of the Year, and they'll have like a number of different people, like everybody from Genghis Khan and Darth Vader to Kronos, Abraham, Jim Trueblood from The Invisible Man. And these are the models, right? These are the models, or every hard rapper's father ever, right? Like these are the figures of fatherhood that I'm accessing and talking about. And in some ways, it's a kind of a talisman against going down those particular roads of eating your children so they don't later supplant you. Yeah, there's also examples of fatherhood, from a kinder American pop culture, like Ward Cleaver, Bill Cosby, and Bill Cosby is distinct from Heathcliff Huxtable, right? My first experience with Bill Cosby in matters of fatherhood, I think, were probably watching his stand-up for Bill Cosby himself, which actually, that was the name of the show, which actually provided a lot of the material for the first season of The Cosby Show. But in Bill Cosby himself, one of the longest bits in there is about beating children, which by the time we get to The Cosby Show, there's vestiges of that. You see it in there, that when Bill Cosby, when Cliff Huxtable and Claire Huxtable are dealing with their children, in almost every episode, there's long periods of very stern looks. There's a scene in the episode where Elvin wants to propose to Sandra, and they've decided, and all the rest of the families decide to play a trick on Cliff about that. But Cliff knows that the trick is happening, and Theo responds to there's this big dinner scene, and Cliff looks at Claire, who was talking, and he says, "You shut up!" Right? So everybody's freaking out, right? Because Cliff is totally like playing this angle, and Theo gets up and puts his hand on his shoulder like, "Dad," and then Cliff looks at his hand like, "Excuse me?" And that moment, you're kind of like reminded all these years later that underneath that, the discipline and the good kids and everything was an idea that said you can beat your children because they sometimes need to be beaten, right? And so there's that part of it. So by the time I'm thinking about Cliff on a I'm thinking about that layer there too. That to preserve, right, this surface of middle class respectability with this group of parents who are outnumbered by their 5 children. that they've essentially had to, declare a kind of a martial law